Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Sacred Heart Awakenings group. I am pre-recording this video as I will not be able to do the Facebook Live this week, and the same for next week for now, due to some other events happening at the moment. So in this Love's Wisdom, the question is, are you having misunderstandings or miscommunications that is interfering with your love in your relationships, your love life, romantic relationships? So this week's love wisdom, I would like to discuss the whole communication and the importance of us speaking from our own truth and the strength of our own heart. So speaking from the heart itself. So that's the focus for this video itself, to discuss the whole thing about communication. And speaking of communication, at the moment, we are finding ourselves still in the Mercury Retrograde, which started last week. We're in October 2020. So this is October 23rd, 2020. And we are in the midst of the Mercury Retrograde, which is supposed to last till November 3rd, 2020. And I personally have been finding this Mercury retrograde to be much stronger, and I'm very certain that many of you are feeling it as well. So Mercury is the planet of communication, and retrograde is when the planet is in retrograde, that means it's time to start doing some inner work and work inside of you. So if you were to put those together, Mercury retrograde, there's some communication that needs to occur inside of you as far as building your own relationship with yourself and what parts you're not communicating with, and connecting you more to your own heart, your heart of wisdom. So I would like to share 3 keys to be able to connect you to your heart, start communicating with yourself, to enrich your life and your relationship with others around you, especially your loved ones in a romantic relationship and so forth. So as much as we are in the midst of this Mercury retrograde, it is actually a perfect time to do some review, reassessment, and reflection on our life, especially if you are looking at past relationships you may have had with romantic relationships that you're wondering, some of those may have caused some pain in your heart that may be impacting your current relationship, or you may find yourself in the midst of a heartbreak from a previous romantic relationship that may have just happened, or your relationship may be dying and you feel it, and so you're afraid. And you're afraid of that communication as well, of being your true self. So I personally found myself so for those who don't know, I realize I need to introduce myself. So I'm Monica Bermudez, and I am an intuitive self-love energy healer and a spiritual counselor and teacher. So just to share my personal experience, that during the marriage, I recall that I had a really hard time expressing myself, or I was just afraid to really say my opinion on or speak my truth during the marriage, because I knew that there would be some form of persecution, as well as being scolded for speaking up freely for what I was, having my opinion on, or just to share anything. And then I realized that during the marriage that this wasn't the way that I wanted to be in the marriage, where I was afraid to share anything. It was almost like walking on eggshells. And certainly that is not the type of relationship anybody should be. It is not a healthy relationship in any way, because it felt like I couldn't open up or say anything about who I was. But later, when I was in a divorce and I was in my intense dark night of the soul, which I spent most of my time in reflection and review of everything in my life, including all my romantic relationships, most of all, focus on that, that I realized that I wasn't really being truthful to myself. There was other aspects in me that I was afraid to share, of being this true healer with others, and this path of soul purpose that was all intertwined. And so I would just hide those aspects of me for fear of being rejected with the other in a relationship, that fear that I wouldn't be accepted the way I was. But as it turned out, it really was about me accepting myself and who I really was. So that's when I really started to dig inside to really know who I was, and started to accept and love every aspect of all that was surfacing out of me. And so I realized that I was hiding some aspect of me in order to please these men, so that they would accept me just, the way I was. But I was approaching it all in the wrong way, and in a way that made me realize later that I just needed to find this path of my own self-love, which in turn led me to strengthening more of my heart, and wake up that wisdom inside the heart, and have that communication with the self, a healthy communication. So having a healthy relationship with the self. And so understand that there is so much fear when it comes to having misunderstandings, or not having any communication at all in a relationship. It certainly is not the way to be living in any way, just to be accepted by the other. So the heart does serve as a balancing point to let you know when is a good time to share, when is a good time to remain in silence, when is a good time to be open and authentic to who you really are, and speak your truth with love. And so the love that's inside of you is very strong and strengthening, and there are ways to speak with love without having to sound cruel or harsh with anybody else, because then that also closes your heart as well, when you're being it's almost coming off as conflicting. So it's best to use the balancing of the heart, of your true inner voice, of that authentic heart within you, to speak that truth. So there are love coaches and energy healers who help with those patterns going on in the heart energetically, because what I was finding as I was reflecting and reviewing is that all of this was also related to karmic patterns from past lives, that communication, karmic pattern of being afraid to speak who I was, because of who I truly was, because I was remembering my past lives that I was persecuted and tortured for being a healer and having my abilities at that time, that all that was actually interfering in my current lifetime, and I was falling into that same pattern where I just didn't want to share everything about me and my whole opinion when it came down to certain aspects of spirituality. I couldn't share that with my partner, because for one, I was scolded for saying my opinion, but so then that's why I remained mostly quiet. But certainly that's not in a relationship for anybody. It's an unhealthy relationship, because you're not being your true self or your authentic self. And you may find yourself now in a relationship where you're finding it hard to communicate with the other, maybe misunderstandings, but that's where it all comes back to the heart of where inside of you, and also reflection of yourself as to where inside of you you're not communicating, or you're having misunderstandings. So everything that's on the outside world is a reflection, it's a mirror reflection of your own inner world. So that is how you start to reflect inside and ask yourself those questions as to what it is that you need to know about yourself. And so that's why I want to share 3 keys that would help you tune in or tune up into your own heart space and start to get that flow of communication with your heart. And number one is you could try this technique of placing your hand over your heart and closing your eyes and just focusing your own heart and really asking your heart what you need to know, in what direction it wants to go, because your heart knows what's best for you, and it is in connection with the source connection of the I am presence, higher self, as some would call it. And at times when there's certain emotions and fears that blocks that channel, and we get so focused on being the victim of what's happening outside in the environment, when really we should be looking inside and asking ourselves what part of us is are we not communicating with ourselves that we need to know about. What is the fear that is coming up? And so that is a time to really start asking yourself the questions as you tune into your own heart. And number two is taking the time to be out in nature. Nature just does so many things as far as getting in touch with the nature spirits to help resonate more with the frequency of the heart, and to open up those channels of your own intuition, of your wisdom of the heart. So it is nurturing for you. It's like having a nature spa treatment outside with the nature spirits and getting you more tuned in. And number three is having the quiet time and the space to also do some journaling and asking yourself the tough questions. And it does take a lot of courage to really be honest with yourself and truthful. That is all part of the communication, and just lay out those fears and vulnerabilities of what is really happening. It could be fear of being rejected, or fear of not being accepted just the way you are. And so those are the things that, underlying factors that you should really start asking yourself and digging into those patterns that are coming up energetically and so forth. And knowing that you deserve to have your own love as a starting point, and you deserve to be in your own authentic power of who you are truly, and be open to who you are. And the heart helps with so many aspects. As I've discussed previously, it is the balancing point of the whole body, which is your own temple. And it helps you navigate through, and discerning as well, your situation around you, especially if your romantic relationships and so forth. So understanding that, because there's so many blocks and layers that are around the heart that get attached through so many relationships, and some of them are from karmic patterns as well as ancestral that we may not be so aware. I have designed a complimentary Sacred Heart Awakenings breakthrough session, which is designed for conscious men and women who are curious to find out how they could align more with their own self-love, so that they can attract, the benefits are to attract a lifelong partner, to be in a healthier, loving relationship, polishing the current relationship if you may be in one, but giving you that clarity of the heart and the balance to make that decision with love, and creating better boundaries and healthier boundaries around you. So there are many aspects to that that we can lay out during the session to discuss, and the path forward, and how to energetically do a heart diagnosis and repair of what's going on with the heart, with your heart, And so I would love to discuss and connect with you for those things, because right now is the time to start making those changes. Not tomorrow, not next week. We are in a time of a huge change, so this is a time to really start to dig into those karmic and ancestor patterns, to liberate you and break you free, so that you are more joyful and a healthier life, because you deserve to be in that happy, healthy, joyful life. And you deserve to be in a healthy relationship too. And know that communication is, of course, the most important part of the wisdom of the heart, and tuning in with your own self and knowing who you truly are authentically, because your own soul knows, and the heart is connected to all that with the I am presence within you. So I look forward to connecting with you, and I look forward to another week's of love wisdom video. And just to remind you that now I'm doing 2 videos a week on YouTube for those watching on YouTube. And Sunday morning I'll be posting a video, and then Monday morning as well. And they will all be related to some form of relationship, or share more about light language, which I plan to do a video on introductory to light language. Also, please subscribe and click the bell next to the subscribe button, so that you can stay informed of the videos coming through. So I look really forward to talking to you soon, connecting with you, and I'm wishing you so much love, and take care and be safe.